Today on If You Didn't Know, I'm sitting down with Seth Morgan, founder of Denton County Brewing Company, to discuss purpose, perseverance, community, and Denton's first downtown brewery. Denton's got it all: the food, the music, the art, and of course the people. And behind every corner, there's a story worth sharing. And that's what this podcast is all about. Denton's best, one conversation at a time. I'm Brad, and this is If You Didn't Know, Now You Know. Okay, welcome back to another episode of If You Didn't Know. So happy to have Seth Morgan here with us today. Welcome, Seth. Welcome to the Den.
Man, thank you so much. I'm so grateful. It's so good to be here. It's really good to spend time with you. Thank you.
Looking forward to it, yeah. Seth's a longtime financial professional, but he's turned entrepreneur and global missionary, and recently, was it the year before last, you were the board chair of the Denton Chamber of Commerce. That's where I got to know you, really meet you and kind of get to know you.
Yeah, fortunately, that's where our paths crossed in a more meaningful way. Yeah, I was the chair. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
A really good experience.
You did a great job. I remember thinking, what's this beer guy doing leading the chamber? But come to find out, you've got a much more extensive background than just making beer. Mm-hmm. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but anyway, you've had a lot of qualifications.
Always. Sometimes I say, whatever the question is, beer's the answer, but maybe not always.
There you go.
Yeah, but it was really a wonderful experience, just to be able to give back and meet so many people and see that there's so many good things going on, and to be able to, throw some blood, sweat, and tears into that to keep pushing it forward. But man, what a great organization that really changed me, my business, in so many ways. So I'm grateful from a lot of different angles.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, they're kind of like, Chamber of Commerce still a thing? Like, what are people? I said, just get involved, and you just meet new people and get connected. And of course, Erin and her team do a great job. If you need anything, you're struggling, your business, like, I need some help getting these connections or meeting something, and they'll facilitate that. So, yeah, been great. Well, so we're gonna talk about the brewery a little bit, but
sure.
Before we do that, we got to learn a little more about your backstory, because again, that's not where you started. But where'd you grow up, Seth?
So my family and I. So I was born in Lubbock, Texas. Okay. I'm a 7th generation Texan, which I'm very proud of. And we moved a lot, though. My family was in construction, and not everyone says military, but I think I figured out I've lived in over 30 different homes. Most of those came before I was 25 years old. Wow. So we moved a lot. I think one year I went to 3 different schools in one school year. Wow. And so we moved all over, mainly in Texas, but I have, fortunately, I've been in Denton since 1976.
Okay. You come here for school, or?
My mom lived here, and she moved back here.
I see.
And so this is when my original mom and dad met. they got a divorce, but then my stepdad and my mom moved back, and
I see.
This just became home. I think, like a lot of people, when you come to Denton, it's like, I don't plan on staying here, and I want to get out of town as quickly as possible. And the next thing you know, it's like, you can't drag me out of this town,
it grows on you for sure.
It does, and just the people and everything about it. And so even though I was born in West Texas, and I still has a very close place in my heart, this is home. Yeah, this is definitely home.
Well, it's a good place to call home for sure.
Yeah, it is.
So you spent some time in your early adulthood out of the country, right? You lived in England for a while?
I did. So
what took you there?
Well, me and a buddy of mine one summer decided we want to do the Euro Pass thing.
Okay.
And just, saved up some money, got a train pass, and just traveled for about 2.5 months, and had a really amazing experience. And it totally changed my people view. Yeah. Like, what is life about, and getting out of my own element, and just seeing that contrast of different people and everything. And it was a big eye opener. And I realized, the more you learn, the more you realize the less you know.
You don't know, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, man, I really want to experience this in a much deeper way or a different element. And so I was going to North Texas at the time, and I decided to do the international student exchange program, and did that, and ended up going to England because I wanted to be back in Europe to experience that, and just went by myself, just went over there and lived there it was only a year, but I was there by myself, and I lived in northern England. I lived in a town called Newcastle, and Newcastle upon Tyne, and it was a wonderful experience to change the way that I viewed the world and people, and it had a big impact. And obviously now the biggest impact is my relationship to beer and understanding pubs and what that meant to communities. So really the biggest thing is, sometimes we would have the professor would take us out of class and we'd go to a pub and we'd have class in a pub and people would be having a beer, and beer wasn't just about getting hammered, it was really about community, and that's why pubs are public houses, and everything revolved around this second living room for people. And I was infatuated with this idea and how it brought people together, and so that stuck with me. And when I came back here and when my wife and I decided to do the brewery, that was a driving element to what we wanted the experience to be like. And honestly, the reason we were doing it and what we were trying to accomplish, it wasn't just about the beer. It was about creating something that was more for the community. And that public house aspect. So it had cool. had a pretty big impact on me.
Well, I lived for a couple of years in Spain as a young adult, and kind of experienced, I was doing something different, doing missionary work, but at the same time has had a profound impact on the rest of my life. Just the way you look at the world differently, you realize that, there's a lot going on outside the United States. I mean, love this country, wouldn't want to live anywhere else, but to kind of start to understand the people and the histories of other parts of the world, I think it's something that if every young person gets an opportunity to do something, they should spend, at least a few months or a year or two out of the country or traveling and kind of seeing more of the world,
Brett, I could not agree more. I think everyone should do that. So where were you? That's so cool. I didn't see.
Barcelona.
This is great. I didn't realize that is amazing. So like
Barcelona,
where were you?
I
was
doing? Kind of the east coast of Barcelona, serving
cool.
a mission for my church.
That is so cool.
I
bet that was
awesome.
Was it life-changing?
Absolutely. Changed, like I said, just gaining that perspective on just kind of the world in general, but also just the nature of that work was kind of challenging. Lots of no's, lots of, people that weren't interested in listening. So just learning how to interact with people and kind of really helped me actually become a little bit better of a salesperson, I think, in general. So a lot of people skills, just a lot of, learning how to overcome adversity. And anyway, this isn't about that, but it was a great experience. Okay, so somewhere after your time in England, you got into kind of financial planning or advisory. Is that your first career path?
Yeah. So yes and no. So my family had a construction company. When we were growing up, and they had their own business, and so I saw what it was like for my parents to own their own business. And saw what they went through, and so that has carried me through a lot of dark days.
It's not easy, is it?
No, it's not. But also knowing that, and we had some tough times with them, but we all got through and we kept going. And I saw, what it meant to them and the passion behind it. So I have to say that that was a big driver of the willingness to do what we did. So when I was going to school, I was really interested in international business. I started learning about the rest of the world, and oh wow, it opened my brain, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I want to learn more. But I actually when I was going to North Texas, I was fascinated with biology, and so actually what I wanted to do was aquatic toxicology.
Oh my God.
So I was super I took a few classes, and I got really into kind of the environmental studies of what happens to water. It's a part of everything we do. You can't survive without, a handful of days without water, and how it affects everything. And I thought, this is crazy cool and awesome at the same time. So I started studying all this, and I've always been I've loved the outdoors. So I was either aquatic toxicology as a scientist, or I wanted to be a park ranger. And it's I don't know. I just like to be outside and I want to try to help, or I don't know. So that's kind of what it started. That's really what I wanted to do, and that's where things were going at North Texas. But then I was in school for a long time. I managed to squeeze 4 years into 6.5 years. And then I was like, I just got to get out of school.
Yeah.
So I just got out of school, and I had originally started working for an environmental company.
Yeah.
And we would do wastewater studies on old municipalities.
Right.
So like in South Dallas, South Fort Worth is where we were doing work. And honestly, I had a good buddy of mine that I was in a fraternity with, or a few of them, and they were working in the financial industry. And they're like, man, you ought to come do this. This is great. We're having a wonderful time and meeting lots of people and doing everything and making money. And I was making no money at the time.
You're making money?
Yeah, you're like, wait a minute, you can actually pay your bills? And so, I was like, whatever, I'm doing this. But then I started talking to him and went on an interview and was like, wow, this is really cool. And so then I stopped doing that, went into becoming a financial advisor, followed that track for 28 years.
Wow.
And, but the whole time after I got back from England, I was always trying to homebrew and create these beers that were, at the time, not available in the U.S.
Right.
So I was trying to recreate these beers that I was having in England to very little level of success.
Yeah.
But just trying to work through that and figure it out. And so it was always a passion that had been, the undertow of everything that I was doing. So I kept doing that. And,
You kind of used, for years, if I understand this right, while you were still doing that, you kind of took some of those work opportunities to kind of visit breweries and check it out and do some research and say, what if I were to ever do this, what would it look like? Am I thinking of that right?
You are, yeah. Actually, you're spot on. So the job that I had at the time, I was traveling all over the U.S. and I visited, I don't know the exact number, but it was probably about 5, because this was over like several years.
Yeah.
I visited probably over 500 other breweries. And every time I went to a city in almost every state in the U.S., I would always I'm going to stop by and see a brewery and see what they're doing and see if it has that pub feel that I experienced when I was in England, and also just see what they're doing, how's this working, and then I would also, take that home and figure out how I'm going to make my next homebrew in the garage, so to speak. And I just fell in love. I was infatuated with this idea of what beer could do for people and bringing people together. This whole community-driven thing that you create. And, anytime you create something and it brings joy to people, you're like, wow, that's really cool. I want to do that again.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly, yeah.
So you can see why artists, they love to keep doing what they're doing when they bring this, happiness and joy to people. So, and then it was really when I was brewing one day, I was being pouty about something. I don't know what it was. And I was brewing and I came in and I remember I was with my wife cooking dinner. And I remember this so clearly because, she was chopping vegetables and I was like, I wish I could do this. And I remember she was like, da, 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 da. And I was like, I want to open a brewery. And apparently I had said that so many times. She stopped and she looked at me and she was like, well, either do it or stop talking about it. And I'm like, what? She goes, you brought this up so many times. Either do it or quit talking about it.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I'm tired of you. And that was the beginning. I'm like, are you serious? She goes like, yeah. You put together a plan, see if we can make this, if it's legitimate or is it just a pipe dream?
Yeah. And
I was like, okay. And then that led to a different path of conversation of like, okay, let's look at the finances, the viability of the company, like going through everything. So I spent a year and a half doing real research. And that's when I started going to places around the country with a different mindset of, can we build something like this in Denton?
Yeah.
So that was a big part of it.
Well, I love that your wife kind of really called you the carpet
she
there.
Did.
And sometimes, I know when I had Kevin Roden on, for example, he said the same thing. A lot of us really can say our wives, our spouses kind of, really pushed us to do great things and better things than we'd probably do on our own. So
100%.
It's great to have a strong, good wife like that. So there was something in 2015, right? There's a law change that kind of opened the door up for breweries in commercial areas. I remember something about this about 10 years ago, but what happened?
Yeah, good memory. So before 2015, a brewery was considered a light industrial business, and so it couldn't be put in a commercial business.
Okay.
Or in a commercial zoned space.
Okay.
And then it had changed in different places, but in Denton specifically and in Texas, that's really when we saw most of the changes, where people understood that these were more brew pubs.
Yeah.
And a lot of places have full kitchens like what you see at Union Bear.
Right.
That's a perfect example of what a brew pub is, and you wouldn't typically expect nowadays to see a place like us or Union Bear in an industrial park or warehouse.
Exactly.
And but historically, since it was classified as industrial, the only place that people could open them up was in a warehouse space.
It was just thought of as more kind of manufacturing, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, it was that's exactly what it was considered manufacturing.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't put a manufacturing business on the square.
Right.
And then people realized, well, that's not exactly what it is. It's actually a tap room, it's a bar / restaurant, all of the other things.
Yeah.
And so when that law changed, that's really when that was the springboard, or kind of the shot of the rubber band that really sent us forward, was looking at different places, retail spaces in downtown, because that's where we wanted to be.
I see.
Because downtown is the heartbeat of our city. That's really where you see things happen, and that's where a community building or a community space should be to create that community activity that you want, like I experienced when I was in England in the pubs.
Right.
You never saw pubs in warehouse districts.
Right.
They were always in neighborhoods.
Sure.
They were always in places where people could come and hang out and talk and hopefully solve problems with the community.
Right. Cool. So that spot that you're in on McKinney was that the first one you're like got serious about, or was that third or fourth is like, all right, this one's going to work?
That was not the first location that we looked at, but it was the first one that we could figure out that we could make work.
Yeah.
And that building has really cool history. If you look at old maps from the 1800s of Denton, that's on what's called Lot 18.
Okay.
It used to be a residence. The residence was torn down, and in the late 40s, it was turned into the building that's there now, and it was a house, and then it turned into a plumbing business.
Okay.
And then after the plumbing business, it was Purvis Bearings for a long time.
Yeah.
For years and years. So I remember growing up, it was always Purvis Bearings.
Yeah.
And then the building kind of became dilapidated. Purvis moved out. It was empty for a few years. Had asbestos, had holes in the wall, and every time it rained, it turned into, like a wading pool inside.
Yeah.
It was just full of water. So it was a little bit of a mess. But we knew the location was the right space.
Yeah.
So that made us go.
And the fact that it does have kind of a warehouse component in the back probably is good for. An area in the front that you could really finish out as the pub area, but have that brewing area in the back, right? I guess.
Yeah.
So, not a lot of buildings like that in the downtown area.
Yeah, so it's actually pretty surprising. We're about 6,500 square feet inside, and it's long and thin, a little bit of a shotgun. So when you walk in, you can't tell, but there's a huge space in the back. And it actually was a lot of fun in the years when we started. This was back in 2015, beginning of 16. We ripped everything out of the building. We saved a lot of stuff to use and put back into the building.
Yeah.
Kind of like what you did in your space, like reusing stuff, repurposing, which is really cool. But we would play soccer in there. We'd play hockey in there. We'd play basketball, and it was just big open space, and we had fun. But when you see it as an open space, it was a lot different than what it looks like now.
Yeah. Well, so I think I've heard through the grapevine you kind of had a little trouble getting open, had a few inspections along the way. How many inspections did you have while you were trying to get open?
We had 84 inspections.
84 inspections.
84 inspections.
Yeah, so you only need to pass like probably 5 or 6, I would think, and something like that. So
on a bad cycle, maybe 12 or 15.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but that's a lot of.
It was
a lot of failed inspections.
I haven't spoken with anybody else that's had that many. There may be out there, but I think we might have a record at this point.
That's pretty cool. That's a good story.
Yeah,
well,
it was painful, but it is. Yeah, it makes for a good story.
You had, in addition to that, you had some early kind of other stumbles or just hard times getting going, and some faulty brewing equipment when you got started.
Oh God, it was terrible. Yeah, it was horrible. So we were just opening a business and found this company to work with, and it was through a few people, like, hey, let's use these people. Anyways, fast forward, it turned out to be like a shell game, and the guy that we bought the equipment from never delivered. He gave us old dairy equipment that never worked. It was the wrong equipment. So I flew up and saw the equipment I was supposed to get, and what got delivered to me was nothing the same. It was already 6 months late. We were already open. We were just trying to get things moving. But it turned out that the FBI got involved, and it turned out to be a much bigger scam that this business had scammed, as far as I know, at least 24 other breweries across the country, and was doing some weird things with money. And anyways, that person actually went to prison. And so we actually spent a lot of time working with the FBI to get that figured out, to make sure that the prosecution could happen the way that it did. But it was really difficult because the barriers to entry to brewing are pretty high because of the cost of all the equipment. You're buying a lot of stainless steel. It's specialized equipment, and we bought some, and then within 18 months we had to buy it again. And it was a lot of money, which almost sunk us.
I'm sure.
But good Lord willing, and the creek didn't rise too high. We got through it.
Well, a lot of perseverance. I mean, you're just going to keep fighting. I think probably what you saw your family, back as a youngster, watching them kind of struggle through some of the business challenges, you're like, okay, I know I can get through this, right? And so you're like, just put one foot in front of the other, keep going. So when we did this, we had a burn the ships mentality. Like we were like, we're going to do this. Like there is no, you're not going home. Like we are going to do this, and we're going to fight, and we're going to keep fighting because we believe in it. And there were some hard days, but every day is just like you just got to focus on what I can accomplish right now, and just keep going forward and keep going forward. And they say if you're going through hell, just keep going. Sooner or later, you'll be out. Right? Get out. And that's just what you got to do. So that's what we did. We didn't. You just keep on keeping on, right? Yeah. Well, get open, and a few years later, the pandemic hits, so more challenges, more hard times there. But I think there were some good things that came out of that. Talk to me about those days and that little time period.
Well, a lot of. We actually had this conversation this morning at the brewery. We were talking about that. A gentleman came by that I hadn't seen in a while, and he had helped us through COVID, and we were struggling. I remember him coming in and volunteering to help us stay open. And you just one, it created friendships and memories and things that bonded people. A lot of bad things happen, but I guess I'm natural. The water bottle is always half full, right? Always thinking about the positives, and it really tried people in a lot of ways. And I remember having a conversation with my staff. The day we found out we were going to get closed, we called a meeting and said, we're closed down. This was like before everyone knew what was happening, but Abbott had shut down, said you're not allowed to open. And remember, we brought everybody together for a meeting and said, okay, we don't know what this means. We don't know if it's going to last.
You didn't qualify as essential business, right?
No, we were not essential. So we were still, everyone was still figuring out. Stuff was shutting down. Everything was coming to a halt. But I remember bringing everyone, the whole staff together, and I said, look, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't. We don't know if it's going to last 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 years, 3 months. We don't know. But I can tell you one thing. Our generation's never seen this. We're going to be faced with a pretty challenging time. And I just want you all to think about when we're done with this, looking back, how do you want to remember this, and how do you want to remember yourself? How do you want to remember how you responded to this adversity?
Wow.
And I said, I just want you to think about that. So we're going to build a strategy based on that. And that's what we're going to do. And I'm not saying I have all the answers, because I definitely didn't. But I said, we're going to make our decisions based on how we want to look back and remember how we responded to people, how we responded to situations. And above all, I mean, maybe this sounds corny, but this is what I said. We are going to pick people and love above everything else. I said, because at the end of the day, even if we go out of business, that's what I want to remember.
Yeah.
And I
That's
said,
awesome.
so I got are we all on board for this? And they said, yes, we are.
Wow.
And, it took a long time for everything to unravel, right? We all know that. But what's been good about that, and I learned this really from, I think, my parents and just experiences, anytime you go into a difficult situation, if you let the situation take control of you, you're not always going to be happy reflecting back on it, on how you responded to things, as opposed to remembering the main thing is to keep the main thing, regardless of what's going on. And what's cool is I've had a lot of employees come back to me that worked during that time, and they said, man, thank you. You taught me a pretty important lesson. And you know what? By the grace of God, thank you that I had the words at the moment for the situation. And but that's been our driver on a lot of things. It's like, there's adversity and unknown stuff that happens all the time. Yeah. But at the end of the day, when we deal with stuff in our families and our businesses, with our families, with the chamber and all of that, at the end of the day, the main thing is to keep the main thing, and that's really people first. You got a pretty good chance of getting it right. And so, business for dummies like me, an entrepreneur, it's like, if you keep it simple like that, you'll continue to keep the ship moving, or keep the business moving in a direction that's going to be efficacious for the people involved.
Man, so that's great, Seth. Well, I think, people and love. If we could all just in our business take some of that and keep that in mind.
At the end of the day, right?
Man, we'd all be in a lot better place, or the world would for sure. But I think that's just, a lot of wisdom there that you kind of didn't, like you say, you had no idea what the future held. But to say, what do you want to look back, and how do you want to reflect on these days or weeks or months? So a lot of wisdom, great leadership there. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
It gave you some opportunities to kind of pivot in a few areas too, didn't you? To start distribution and some kind of the canned beer to go and some different things like that.
Yeah. So this is one of the things that was positive about that, is it probably forced us to put the business on a fast track of where we wanted to be in 5 years. So we had to do it quicker. Yeah. And what it did to our mentality is really think about the business. Well, just because COVID's over, we shouldn't stop thinking that way. And so we have continued to pivot and reinvent. So it actually changed how we approach business at large with everything. So how we pivoted to start doing distribution, to start doing different types of food, so we could have be open at some point. We started doing canning. We started finding ways to people that wanted to do events and backyard party. Well, we have beer to help you with that, and really thinking more about just bringing people into our lane of traffic, to saying, how do we get in other people's, how do we go to where people are in their life, as opposed to just expecting people to come to us. And we've carried that through, and we continue to carry that through, and continuing to pivot and think about what our goal is, even after COVID is, quote, done. Yeah. So, Yeah, it really changed the way that we think about business. And we've continued to pivot on little things about ideas. And so from that perspective, a lot of good came out of COVID because it really forced us to cram, a lot of years into fewer years and figure out what was going to work and not work in business. When you're starting a business, you're like, okay, I'm doing this. We created a business plan that was over 100 pages. And I'm sure, you create a business plan. You're like, I am going to thoroughly look through this to make sure I know what I'm doing. And you realize, 3 months in, you're like, I throw that out the window.
I got punched in the face now.
Yeah, I got punched in the face so many times. I have to keep changing. So now it's forced us to keep that mentality. And now it's kind of ingrained in what we do. So
that's cool.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of breweries and businesses going under right now. Unfortunately, it's horrible to see, but I think us continuing to think about in a mature industry and what I'm doing now, as our industry matures, continuing to stay ahead of what people, what we were. Mm-hmm. So I told my staff this. It's kind of like monkey bars, right? If I'm swinging, I've got to let go of the past to grab the future.
Right.
And so it's that idea in business. I mean, if things are working, don't mess with it, but don't expect what got you to this point to carry you forward.
Forever, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, especially every business is changing. With
it does.
All kinds of stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned something earlier that leads me to believe that the Denton community is supported you pretty well. The guy that what did he want to do? Just come volunteer and help you?
Yeah.
When things were first shutting down, is that what he wanted to do?
Yeah.
It's like, I just want to help.
Yeah.
But the Denton community does jump in and support each other.
Brad, that's what it is. I mean, this community, and if anything, Denton loves Denton. Yeah. Denton knows Denton, and Denton wants to embrace Denton, right? And now, if you get outside of those lines, Denton will also, take you behind the woodshed, right? But if you get out of line, people came by and they just said, how can we help? Yeah. Like, what can we do to help? And during it wasn't the shutdown; it was actually in 2021 when we had the big ice storm. Yeah. And everybody's water was turned off, and that's when they did the boil thing. And we started. We have these huge vats of water. We have like thousands and thousands of gallons of water, and it's purified. And we have a softener, an RO filter, and a carbon filter. A carbon filter. And so we have really good, clean water. Some of the cleanest water in Denton. Yeah. And we had thousands of gallons, tens of thousands of gallons. And so we were like, hey, man, we can help people. And so we started giving it away. What was remarkable about that is everyone was like, oh, wow, Seth, that's really good. And I'm like, no. We got the credit for it, but this was the Denton thing, man. Yeah. So we had, from the time that we made an announcement that we have people were out of water, hey, we have water to give away, to the time that we had over 75 volunteers that came and helped us, and people saying, hey, we just turned into a hub, and people, all these other companies had pallets of water and they were bringing it to us, so we just became kind of a hub.
The water hub,
that wasn't us, man. That was Denton. That was Denton and the people, and people are just saying, how can I help? Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, there is people, I think, tend to believe that we're very divisive in politics and stuff right now, but when it gets to local stuff, man, Denton is a community that I think we'll always take care of ourselves. I mean, we don't always agree on everything. Right. But that, I feel guilty in a lot of ways because we got credit for, oh, wow, we gave water to all these people. But, man, it was Denton deserved the award. That's cool. For that, because it was, it's pretty awesome to see people. Yeah.
Well, so you're obviously a man of very strong faith, and I know you've done some missionary work, and you've got your charity, I think in Africa. I want to learn a little more about that. Kind of what are you doing there, and what other kind of missionary and other humanitarian type work have you done?
So it really was a God thing. I had just quit a job, and I was about to start a new one, but I had 2 weeks off, and I had a bunch of honeydews. Yeah. When I told the next company, I'm like, I can't start for 2 weeks because I got I'm going to help my whatever. You know, like I got all these things I got to get done. And then I went to this church committee which did outreach and did mission trips. And you'll appreciate this because of your mission experience. I had a window, and they're like, we really need a couple more people, and we're going to Guatemala. It's on a medical mission. And I was like, I don't know anything about medicine, and I can't speak Spanish. And they're like, it doesn't matter.
Otherwise, I'm in.
Yeah, otherwise, put me in, coach. But I went home, and I said, I talked to my wife, and once again, I was like, I really want to do this. She was like, we'll do it. Like, this is perfect. Like, all the projects, we can, whatever. So I went on this trip, and it was a game changer for me, like to see how most of the world lives. And then I come back to this country that we live in that is like one big country club, right? Yeah. I didn't understand how incredibly blessed we were to be born and grow up and live in a place like this. And it helped me not take advantage of it, which is also what I learned when I was even in England, like just seeing how so much of the world lives. And I came back, and two questions were burning in my mind. One was, I can't pretend that I didn't just see and experience what I did. Yeah. And then the next question was, what am I going to do about what I believe? Mm-hmm. Like, if I say that this is my belief system, right? What am I going to do about it? Mm-hmm. And I had to do something. And so that's powerful. I started going on more mission trips, but then I don't know. I'm a control freak, or I just wanted things to be done a certain way. I was like, I believe that we can build a charity that can be more efficient and can get more money to the end user, and we can be faster, we can be more mobile, we can really make decisions that impact the end user more effectively. Yeah. And I was really, really fortunate enough to meet another guy that had a heart for this, and his name is Michael Tenney. And so we got together, and he, a lot like my wife, I was like, I've got this idea, and he was like, all right, well, let's do it. Don't just talk about it. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So we formulated this business, and it was 20 years ago. It was actually we started it in the summer of 2005. Wow. And created a 501c3. And our goal was to run a charity like you would run a business. Yeah. So the mentality of philanthropic or nonprofit work tends to be different than a business. So we wanted to run a business for efficiency and effectiveness and end results in a different way. Both are good, but we wanted to kind of do a hybriding. Overlap them. And then we started Orient Charities. Mm-hmm. It started out as a minor medical mission to Africa. And when we first started, we were actually working in countries all around the world. Mm-hmm. We did stuff in Southeast Asia, and Central America, South America, Africa. And then what I tell people is when you look at poverty around the world, it's really in degrees of burns. So, and this is not, like, all burns hurt. All burns are bad. Yeah. So I'm not negating any burn. Yeah. But if you go to, like, places in Denton, you'll see poverty, but there's opportunity around. That would be like a first degree burn. Yeah. And then if you go to, like, Central America or South America, you see stuff that's like a second degree burn. Mm-hmm. But there's still opportunity, and the economies are pretty good. And then in Southeast Asia, but when I started traveling in different countries in Africa, I really saw third degree burns, where you saw something, these people are pitted in poverty, the system is against them, they can walk 700 miles in any direction, and it's the same problem. There is no opportunity. It's like they have no opportunity. And so we wanted to go to, like, one of the worst places in the world and see if we could help there. Yeah. Long story short, that's why we ended up in Malawi. Okay. And what started as, us carrying tote bags full of medicine, getting in a truck and going out into the bush where they had not seen white people in 7 years, literally. Yeah. and they didn't know they thought we were ghosts. They would freak out they'd freak out when they saw us, and but we're like, we're here to help because we had some missionaries that we were working through. I'm not sure if I'm making a short story long or a long story short
it's all
here,
good.
but thank you for letting me talk, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, we realized that you can't just help people with medicine because life is not that simple. It's all fabric and it's all connected, and so you have to help them. And this is what we do now. This is what it's evolved into over mistakes and wisdom and learning over 20 years. We help them with water. We help them with food. We help them with medicine. We help them with education, and then all just overall business sense, microfinancing, and things like that. Because if you're sick, you don't care about education, right? And if you're thirsty or hungry, you don't care about it's all interconnected. And to really get those people off that bottom rung of poverty, we had to do all of that. And then the overlay is really working on the most vulnerable people, but also giving them business sense. So how do you start a business so you can earn money to get out of that? So it's all interconnected, and that's what we've learned. And so that's really what we work on. And education is such a big part of the long-term plan as well. So that's got to be a part of it. So that's why we do it all together. So that's what we do now.
Wow. What a great cause. And
still
primarily focused there in Africa?
Yeah, so we predominantly work in the northern part of a country called Malawi.
Okay.
It's a landlocked country in southeast central Africa, and it's pretty small, but they call it the warm heart of Africa. The people are amazing, and
that's awesome.
We now have over 80 employees in Africa, and they're all African. Yeah. There are no Westerners that work there. It's all Africans. And so now we're in the process of turning it over to them, so it's all theirs, and they're making all the decisions now. And we have actually a board in Malawi in Africa. We have a board here and a board there, so they're taking that over. And our goal is to really put ourselves out of a job and then find another one and start over and do it again.
Very cool.
So
what great work there, Seth. That's an amazing story.
Well, thank you. By the way, there's a ton of amazing people that have made this happen. So I'm carrying this, the story, the advertisement, but all the people behind it. It takes a lot of people to pull something like that off. That's where, the magic happens when the whole village is involved. Yeah.
But it takes a big heart and the courage to say, okay, well, I have this belief system. What am I going to do about it? I mean, to really step out there and do something. So kudos to you. And I know lots of people have been supporting you and helping you, but that's quite a story. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, well, thanks for listening.
Well, love having you on.
Thank you.
Obviously,
likewise.
I've got to, as far as your favorite brewery in town, what's that?
Oh.
We know the answer to that one. We won't even have to answer.
Yeah, you know what, though? Our industry is really tight. I really love them all. Yeah. I mean, we really see each other and talk and spend time together almost on a daily basis with all the other breweries in town. Yeah. So it's a really, really cool fraternal group to be in. And it's actually not fraternal. It's because it's all walks of life are a part of it and welcome, but you get my point.
Yeah. Well, I don't drink myself, but you did bring some beer. So the Orient beer named after your charity, right? Here, I see the little Africa scene there on it. That's really cool. And so, so craft beer in general, I mean, kind of what's your favorite type of beer to brew? And I'm fumbling my words because I don't know. I don't speak beer very well. But
No, Brad, you're spot on. So my favorite type of beer to brew is the hardest one to brew, but also the most rewarding if it comes out well. And that's a simple beer. And it's actually a beer like this one right here. So this is a light lager. Yeah. It's just a beer-flavored beer. It has the fewest ingredients. It's super simple. So there are no places to hide.
Can't hide, yeah.
Yeah, so if you make it well, it comes out and it's pristine and it shines. If there are any flaws, they absolutely shine too.
You get exposed. Yeah.
So my favorite thing to do is just one with super simple ingredients, and I mean, yeah, and when it comes out great, you're like, okay, that's awesome, I did it. Yeah, so that's that one. That one, and actually, we have another beer called Night Witch, and it's probably the hardest beer to brew, but it's the one that people look forward to the most. So that's exciting when we're brewing it, because people are like, oh my gosh, it's coming.
It's coming out.
So that's kind of a fun one too.
Man. Well, keep up the good work over there on McKinney Street. It's really cool what you're doing, and I know it is. It's more. I was over in that part of the downtown a few months ago and ran into somebody that kind of was coming out of your place, and they had a Rotary Club meeting there. And so I was like, oh, okay, that is, things like that can happen there, right? That's the kind of community you're trying to build, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I've got a hat for you. All my guests get to pick out one of these Norman Roscoe hats. So take your pick there. And
oh, man, those are all cool. And Norman Roscoe, are you kidding me? I am absolutely going to go. I love the camo.
You're the outdoorsman. There
I am
you
the
go.
outdoorsman, so this is like perfect. Yeah. Thank you, man.
Well, thank
you so much.
Thanks for joining me. Thanks for bringing the beer, share it with my team here. And
that's perfect.
The hat looks great.
Yeah, I love it.
True Denton guy. Yeah. Well, if you didn't know Seth Morgan and Denton County Brewing before today, now you do. Thanks again for joining us today, Seth.
Man, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for doing this. I know this takes a lot of time for you, and it's super cool. So I've enjoyed watching the other ones, and learning so much about Denton, and now I know. So.
Now you know.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
all
thanks,
right,
man.
Until next time.